Hello, everybody. Here we are. Okay, so now we record, and I want to share this. Sorry, folks, it's just taking me a couple seconds to get here. Join me on Zoom. All right, Amos, I see. This is why we can't have nice things. So basically what happened, folks, let me just get back to the screen. Hopefully some of y'all join me. So what happened was this. We had a bunch of folks. We were all ready to go with a great topic tonight, and that was, why we choose to turn away from the way the system is now. Where do we go from here, and why agorism in the first place, and how we came to that. And what ended up happening was there was medical emergencies, and some people couldn't make it, and some people didn't recognize what time it was. Like sometimes we do it earlier in the evening, sometimes we do it later. So either way, here I am. What I've done is I've added the Zoom link into the Unloose the Goose Telegram and also into the Fire On chat. I'm going to put it in the Survival Podcast chat as well. And we're going to end up having like a bunch of folks from the audience come and join us tonight. And we'll take questions from the audience and basically have like a discussion about what brought you to agorism and what brought you to choosing a path in this world the way it is. So we've got already a couple folks joining us. So just to say real quick, welcome to Unloose the Goose. This is not, Josh, I see you in here. This is not a Unloose the Goose chat. Are you in the hospital?
Hold on a second.
Well, welcome.
Am I the only one here?
Hello.
No, we got Josh, and what's your name?
Josh.
Both Joshes. Two Joshes.
Josh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Same name on Telegram there.
Great. And you guys both come from Unloose the Goose, or Josh V. I recognize you in the Fire On chat as well.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I am in the hospital with my daughter tonight. If that's
what's
what you
wrong
were
with your
asking
daughter?
earlier.
What's wrong with your daughter? Is she all right?
So we're changing her diet. She's having seizure issues, so we're changing her to a keto diet to see if that helps alleviate the seizures.
Do you want to go and take care of that? That seems kind of serious.
Yeah, it's just the pump is acting up, which I don't mean to be taking up your time.
No, it's all right. What I wanted to do is kind of get you all's perspective on agorism and what brought you to Unloose the Goose.
Got to it through Curtis Stone and those kinds of folks.
Yeah, Curtis is awesome. How long have you been following his work?
Probably like 4 or 5 years. So before he kind of woke up to things. But now that he's a gardener and awake, it's even more deadly. So I just finished listening to episode 19 of his Liberty on Land podcast there.
Do you do any gardening yourself?
Well, yeah, I will once the snow is gone, but I think it's minus 35 Celsius right now, and with the wind, probably minus 40 something.
Dang, where are you? You're probably in Canada, yeah?
Yeah, in Saskatchewan.
All right. Do you grow during the rest of the year?
Sadly, I'm stuccoing right now. I'm going to do one more season now that I'm done the homestead house. And if I don't quit doing stucco, then I'm never going to get to doing the gardening and market gardening that I want to do. So
yeah. Oh, so you're kind of following Curtis to kind of learn the spin farming and kind of turn it into a profitable business, eh?
Well, we'll see. I'm on
baby steps.
I'm more of an imminent shit is gonna hit the fan type of person. So
yeah,
grow food for myself first, and if there's an economy to sell food into,
good.
When did you start?
I think what we'll do is because this is all on the fly, and this is one of the things that I actually love doing, is sort of on the fly and having conversations. We had a medical emergency. We had somebody bow out because of a timing issue, and then we kind of pick who's going to be in what shows, and we kind of had one too many people bow out tonight for emergency reasons. So what we're going to do on the fly is we're going to treat all of y'all as the Unloose the Goose team, and I will moderate and ask questions, and we'll go down the list and kind of give everybody an opportunity to express themselves. And as people join on the Zoom call from the Unloose the Goose Telegram or the Fire On Telegram, we'll just incorporate everybody into the conversation. Does that sound good with everybody?
Cool.
Awesome. And I think we are live on YouTube and we are recording, so we're good to go. There was a little bit of technical difficulties because I haven't done the live streaming on YouTube yet. So with that, I'm going to open up, there's a chat. If you guys have any questions or things that you want to address, type them in the chat and then we'll kick it off from here. On the line with us today from the Unloose the Goose and Fire On communities, we've got Josh on his iPhone 3. We've got Josh Verhage. Is that how you say it? Verhage? Verhaeg. Sorry. Thank you so much. We've got KM and Natasha Koshinka, right? So I think what we'd like to do is maybe we'll start going down the line. Everybody introduce yourselves, whereabouts you are in the world, and how you found us and Unloose the Goose. Natasha, can we start with you, Natasha? Natasha, can you hear us?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
Yeah, tell us your name and where you're from and what you do and how you found us.
my name's Natasha. I live in New York City. I found you guys from Elizabeth. Well, I found you through Elizabeth April, and I do trauma healing.
That's right. That's right. That's great. Thank you so much.
Energy
Kate.
work, really.
Yeah. So this podcast is called Unloose the Goose, and it's based around a philosophy called agorism, which is self-reliance, essentially, where we look at the systems that are in place. We're not looking for a government or president or anybody to save us. It's us, right? And how do we work together? What are the systems that we can use? What are the ways that we can live that we're more empowered, we are more capable, more confident, and we can face whatever challenges are coming towards us. So that's where Unloose the Goose came from. And it started with a fellow by the name of Jack Spirko, and some of you guys are familiar with him. He does the Survival Podcast. I had been a guest on his show for years, all the way back to like 2014 when I first started with Bitcoin. And it's kind of grown. I've met Curtis, I've met Sal, and all of these folks, and it's everybody's very much in that prepper and preparedness and let's do it ourselves kind of mentality. So it's been really, really cool. So thanks, Natasha. We'll come up with some questions and start going down the line. KM, why don't you tell us your name, where you're from, and what you're into, and how you found us?
Hi, my name is Christina. That's where the KM comes from, and I found you on Instagram while looking at some controversies and political stuff, and I'm interested in a better future for my family, a better future for this country, whether this country is going to stay the same.
Right.
I'm open to alternative self-sustained living and better future, basically.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of us that share that. Go ahead. Sorry, Christine, I didn't mean to cut you.
I'm from Daytona, Florida, Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty close.
Sweet. You're coming to the Fire On launch party, right?
If I'm invited.
Of course you are. You're on the Telegram, the t.me/.
I'm on the Telegram.
Sweet. I'm going to be announcing that tomorrow where you can get tickets. I might do it later tonight. I'm not sure.
Nice. It's just 3 hours from me.
Yep.
So that's good.
If you need a hotel, we've got hotel rooms down here.
Nice. Thank you.
Cool. And for all of y'all who don't know, we're doing a Fire On launch party for the app. We put it into the App Store this evening, and they gave us some things to fix, and we're doing that tomorrow. So cool. Thanks, Christina. Mm-hmm. All right, Josh Verhaeg. We didn't get to hear where you're from and what you're about.
Well, I'm between we're in Saskatchewan, which is the middle of Canada, basically between Manitoba and Alberta. We're between houses right now. We've got one in the city that I'm using for a work base, and then our homestead closer to the forest and out in farming country where we want to try 21st century homesteading with some, mostly 20th century technology and 21st century ideas. Mm-hmm. So I was telling my neighbors yesterday, I'm probably going to set up like a yard waste free pickup service instead of, people just throwing it in the ditch because they can't drive all the way to the landfill, and, take everybody else's carbon and compost it on our yard, grow some vegetables with it, sell it back to them.
There you go. That's actually a great topic that I think we'll bring up, repurposing. And we've got another Josh on here. Josh, what's your last name? Or you don't need to share your last name if you don't want to, but where are you and what are you about and how did you find Unleash the Goose?
I think you're talking to me.
That's right. What's
So,
the
my
first letter? First letter of your last name?
It's Paulson is my last name. You can hear my last name.
Okay, cool.
And I am in North Carolina, so in Carnersville, which is the Piedmont Triad. And I learned about you first through Spear Co. Also, been listening to him for a long time, and just generally getting preps together, and trying to change what I've done for the last 20 years, which is construction. So I've been looking into alternative ways to lead a life. It seems like homesteading is a way to go. So,
well, that's awesome. So we just had two more join us. Thanks, Josh Paulson. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute everybody, and then when I call on you, you can unmute yourself. And Brian, you're in here. If you'd like to introduce yourself, tell us how you found Unleash the Goose and what you're about.
Oh, hey man, I'm a Jack Spearco disciple, I guess. I'm in Middle Tennessee. Remember you from interviews with Jack from way back, 3, 4, 5 years ago, however long it is.
Sorry, Brian, I just muted everybody. If you want to unmute yourself so you can speak. Sorry.
I think I'm back. Yeah, just hanging out with the crew here in Middle Tennessee. Get to hang out with Nicole Sauce and her compadres over. They're about an hour east of me.
Nice.
And get to hang out with them and just being a crypto savage and taking a little bit of time in the backyard to just dress the place up a little bit and grow a little food and see what I can do with the place.
More self-reliance, better life. If times get tough, or even if they don't.
Even if they don't.
You know it. Good. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know that that's the way it's going to go, but that's kind of the hope and the dream, right? Well, thanks, Brian. Appreciate you. Russell, how about you? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about and how you found us. Russell? Russell, can you hear me? All right, so I'm going to remove you if you're not going to be chatting, because we've got a lot of folks in here, and if it's too many, it can get a little bit unruly. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to pop in there and say something. Otherwise, it's peace out for you, homie. You want to say anything, Russ? All right. Okay, so we got one other person waiting, and I think that's going to be it. We're going to leave it to this many folks. Dylan, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us your name, where you're at, and what you're about, and how you found Unleash the Goose, and then we're going to start asking some questions, and everybody gets to answer and be the Unleash the. You guys get to be the gaggle tonight, and I'll be the host. How about that? So go ahead, Dylan. Let us know where you're at and what you're about.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great, man.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, just
welcome to Unleash the Goose, my man.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I just saw that you guys were live, and I catch every episode.
Sweet, appreciate that.
And yeah, so what kind of brought me to this community was back in 2015. I had just graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a job working for a plastics company, and I thought, this is my dream job. I went to school for chemistry, and I just looked around and saw the amount of plastic waste that was generated internally at the mill, and I'm like, this isn't even product that ships out. There's so much waste. And I was looking at aquaponics at the time, and I happened to catch a video, like a 15-minute video on permaculture, and it was Jack Spirko. And so that's what brought me into this world.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So we got a lot of Jack Spirko fans here. I'm one of them. We've got some folks from completely different worlds, and I think it's really good. It'll give us some opportunities to just like go down the line and say, you know, what really sparked you and said, holy shit, this is, I got to look at life a little bit different. I can't just keep going on the way it's always been, right? Dylan just said that you saw plastics being wasted, and you got into Spirko and the Survival Podcast. Did you start listening and then say, wow, you know, I'm going to start gardening. I'm going to start, you know, building food supplies. Is that sort of your path then?
Yeah, I guess I've always kind of been interested in gardening from a young age, and what wasn't included when I was gardening at a young age is like what do plants need to grow, and that was always this curiosity that I had. And along the path of finding what plants require to grow has just led me on this path of you know, where our food comes from, what's behind the scenes of producing food. But even on a side note, I've been talking to my wife about this, is that something about having kids turns on something inside you that it's not just you anymore. It's you, the life that you've created. So I think that's what really did it for me, is that I have someone else to look out for here.
Boom. Anybody else here a parent? I know Josh P, you're a parent. Josh Verhaj, you're a parent. Brian, you? Christina, are you a parent? Natasha? Christina, you said you were a parent, right?
Yes, I'm a parent.
How old?
Multi-parent.
Multiple children's?
Multiple. I have 6.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you see coming on the horizon, and what, you know, you said you found me on Baseline and, you know, researching things. What is your concern, and what kind of steps are you taking in your own life to mitigate those concerns? Right.
I grew up as a city girl, so I know nothing about gardening, but I feel like that's the future.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to learn how to live off the grid and sustain myself. If our money loses value or something happens, or we need to know how to continue and not be the victim and know how to survive, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Are there, if you were to pick some skills that you wanted to learn this year that would help, like, let's say, you know, the states split up and the supply chain was hard, right? It would go back immediately to an agricultural sort of basis. There would be some manufacturing, depending upon what states you were in. It would go back to some kind of mercantile business. What are some skills, and what we'll do is we'll just go down the line. What are some skills that you think are important for like a grid down situation and or like a you know, a breakdown of society, civilization? Let's say we still have electricity to some degree. What are some skills? And we'll start with since you're on with us, Christina, why don't you go ahead? What are some skills that you think would be great?
Definitely self sustainability. Having enough food, if anything, if the supply chain stops. My friends and I are talking about building a community where we're gonna have just our kids play together in one place, and we're gonna have a garden, and we keep everything in one community, and the community is self-sustaining. So we've been talking about that if, you know, poop hits the fan or something.
Yep. That's great. That's a huge start, and I think it's like an impetus that I think we're all feeling, and sort of why we're all coming to these communities. You know, it's like why John has started Freedom Cells, why Jack has been teaching. You know, I think like what Nicole's doing. You know, I think all of us who are at least a little bit awake have something like that going on. How about you, Brian? What are some skills that you think are super important?
I think she hit on it. Is that we need to have our community, our close community, and then just know how to interact with people that are beyond our inner circles, because being able to barter and garden and those types of things within our own circles. So yeah, that's definitely important. I'm a big tech guy, so I'm into things like energy. So I think we need to be thinking about, how we can maintain control of our energy supply chain. I was driving down the interstate the other day, and I heat with propane, and I saw a propane truck going down the interstate on the back of a tow truck, and it was my propane company that was their truck, and that got me to thinking, hey, what if I need it and they can't get it to me? So
right.
So and I have a couple of options, but I mean, just thinking about how we can diversify not only our grocery supply chain, but our energy supply chain as well.
100%. So you're into like decentralized energy systems, right?
Yeah. So I have propane here because I don't want to be on the natural gas pipeline.
Right.
Thinking about putting solar here, and just diversifying the ways in which I can generate heat here is really my main focus. Although Tennessee's not exactly Maine. So.
Yeah. So you're talking about natural gas. You're talking about wood. That's probably one of the most original ways to do heat. Potential geothermal, right? At least for temperature mediation. You're not going to make things hot. You're just going to keep it sort of temperate if you build into the ground and stuff. What about like solar? Is that big for you? I know Dan's in the chat room on the YouTube, and he's a big on solar.
One of my good friends is Sean Mills, who does a lot of solar consulting. I have so little solar aspect here that it's not really high on my radar. It's there, but it's not wood. I have 16 acres of trees that are just waiting to be cut down. So
there's some locust up there.
Wood is probably my next step. When I start thinking about energy security.
Well, Verhage was talking about compost and stuff, and you can actually heat pretty considerably with some really good built up compost and add some human manure into that, and you can you take the copper pipe and roll it through there, and you can come up with a really good heating system. And we'll come to you here in a second, Josh, but I wanted to hit Natasha. What are some skills that you could see being very important in like the next few years, let's say, or even decade of, we've got global uncertainty, we've got supply chain uncertainty. What are some things that you're focusing on, Ann?
Well, I'm really new to this concept of everything that you guys do. So right now, as far as I have gone, I just have some food stored up basically. So again, I'm a beginner. I do have an interest in gardening. Down the line, perhaps living in somewhere where I could do that. I'm very knowledgeable about herbs, so I could heal with herbs. I could prescribe, and just like
that's
healing.
Good. That's a super duper skill. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to bring some awareness to that. Like my wife is an herbalist, right? And being able to know what medicines in your area are good, what plants are good as medicine, that's huge, because if the supply chain breaks down and you've got medical issues, like how does that work? It goes back to some of the old school, technologies that people had, like red willow bark, birch, all of these different plants, elderberry, and what's in your area that treats things. And because you're a trauma specialist and healing, like that skill in of itself is something that's valuable. You know what I mean? Because if the world kind of goes to shit, as people are suspecting that it will, then that kind of a skill is everybody's going to be traumatized, right?
Right,
so,
right.
To be able to help people work through that, become proficient again, become motivated, get back on the wheel and start doing things just to move their life forward. That's like huge, right? So I think both of those skills, medicine and that, and just the fact that you said you're new to this, but are doing so by starting to build a food supply, starting to build supplies of things, like huge steps. So kudos to you, and thanks for having the courage of being here, with people who may or may not be like very experienced in this or have years of experience in it, and come and share your thoughts. So thank you so much for that.
It's a calling. I didn't choose this.
Right. Yeah. I think all of us here have a clue that something's not right. Like, things are just not going the way. There's no clear direction and goal of this is what we want to accomplish, right? As a people, nations used to have that. China's trying to build that, like we're gonna take over the world kind of thing. So there's like this cultural impetus. Right now in the Western world, it's more like trauma, like a cultural trauma, like what the F is going on? And
like 6 months ago, I saw, in my mind, I guess, I saw that shit's gonna hit the fan. Like somewhere down the road, people are gonna like lose it because they've been just completely in illusion. And
in the height of the pandemic.
Right. And people that understand this stuff are going to have to step up and be there. Because it's gonna get fucking dirty. It's gonna get bad. But yeah, so
let's hope
there's
not,
support.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, but you know what? We're gonna come out on the other side. We are. It's just everything needs to break down.
Like the buffalo, right? We head up into the storm, and I think this Unloose the Goose community is that. It's like everybody's, not trying to stick their heads in the sand. They're actually trying to figure out, okay, how do I navigate this shit storm that's happening, right? So kudos to you. All right, so we're gonna go to Verhaeg. You want to talk about some compost skills or some skills that are be good in a kind of collapse of civilization?
Yeah, I'll give a quick recap first. So I'm in probably my 12th or 13th year of prepping.
Yeah.
And so I've thought a lot about skills or how far we might backwardate as a society.
Right.
When you think about most of the headway we've made as a human civilization, it's been, on the backs of empires here, there, everywhere. And so where I am at, we're just another tax colony for the British Empire. They're like, well, we'll just give a bunch of people some free land, send them over there, and then we'll take it back from them if they don't, do anything useful with it, or if they do something useful with it, then we'll cream off the top of it with taxation.
Right.
And they can farm for us, send us the wheat back. And, it was the railroad that really, where we're at right now, nobody would live here of their own choosing, really, or, stay here over the winter. It doesn't make sense without a whole bunch of amenities.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least having trains, right? Because, 75 kilometers away, there's, a lake with salt in it, and they produce salt there.
Yeah.
But, foundries,
that
stuff
would
like
be very valuable in a grid down situation, right? Like salt is like one of the
I've got a bunch in the basement anyway.
Well, yeah, that's good. But like as a mercantile business for your area, you are in an area, like as long as you provide value in that way, like imagine the grid goes down, we can't get shit from China anymore, or the Himalayan pink sea salt, or the fucking Hawaiian black salt, and all this shit that people you're sitting on salt right there. That the whole community, that's what you guys would be focusing on, supplying the demand that's in the world out there for it.
Yeah, it's still far away, right? Like 75 kilometers. Once you are talking no gas, you might have a wood gas truck, but once you're the only guy driving around a vehicle, you're going to have to who knows what kind of weapon just to keep your conveyance secure. And there's way too many scenarios, right? As to what could happen. So
But let's think about it
basic.
this way, right? If there
Yeah.
is a total without rule of law thing, which Jack has a reason of saying it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be excessive rule of law, right? And I kind of
just listened
think
to
that,
one.
yeah, because like, and for those of you who don't know, without rule of law is a WROL is the acronym, and that means like Mad Max, right? The opposite of that is excessive rule of law, or like an authoritarian regime, or forced vaccinations, concentration camps type shit, checkpoints. And Jack makes the point that that's much more likely to happen. And I tend to agree in that regard. And it's sort of like the free man beyond the wall, kind of like what Peter Quinones says, right? It's like, that's his tag, right? And the idea that like there'll be these mega cities where it's like super rules, the panopticon of Orwellian global control, and then like the wilderness folk, right? The freemen, like north of the wall. And I tend to think like that's it. And like in that kind of situation, defend yourself, but you also have to be really clever, like how to find the gray areas working. And that's where Sal's really good, in the Unloose the Goose crew. So, but like in a without rule of law situation, you've got the first few months or maybe a couple of years where people are kind of violent, let's say, not the majority, because it's really the minority of people who want to be violent. A lot of us here, even in this community, Unloose the Goose, or, people that we listen to, like nobody really wants to be violent. It's against our nature, right? And so we're worried about it because we think everybody else are monsters and that everybody just goes chaotic. But like, and I think Natasha could speak to this too, is that, people are inherently decent for the most part, and there would be elements of people who would be violent and would take whatever they can, but they would, like what happens in civilization over the course of years, but would quicker. It's like people would get together, band together, find their communities, and they just would not allow people to act like dickheads, right? And, when you band together in community, you prevent the raiders and all of that nonsense. So, we're just talking fantasy here, but it gets a little bit into psychology. But having like some kind of business or value that you can bring, which goes back to like a lot of the topics we discuss on ULG, is like, what value can you bring to the community? What skills can you provide that would make you important to a fledgling or eco-village or community that would be, whether times get tougher, if they don't, be able to take part in a community and provide value, So you were talking about composting, and, we talked a little bit about creating heat that way. What else you got?
Well, food surplus is how we got to where we're at, right? So
yeah,
gardening is good, yeah, but saving seeds is going to be more important, because I'm sure for every 100 people that have gardened, 5 people have saved seed, maybe 10,
right.
Maybe 3 successfully have done it and continue to do it. I like the herbalism type of thing. We've done some, second level first aid type stuff, when you get into suturing, because you're going to have to be your own doctor. So where there is no doctor and there is no dentist, there's some pretty good books. They're meant for like third world situations and people. But once you're in a shit hit the fan situation, useful tools. And then whoever can start, upcycling and recycling is going to be a big deal, but whoever can figure out how to make like shoes, wagon wheels, buckets, that kind of thing is going to be really useful. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest things is going to be like scavenging, I guess, or we have so much supply that, say, for some reason shit hit the fan, 50% of people died. There's so much stuff laying out around there that if we get to it right away and store it properly, we wouldn't need to make anything for years, really.
Yeah.
But as for
all
skills,
really good points. If we think about the things we take for granted, right? We're living in a society where you can go ding 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 on your phone and shit shows up at your door. What happens when that's not the case? You mentioned shoes, buckets, things like we wouldn't think of that we just take for granted, right? But these, and like with automation, these things are going to be even more ubiquitous, right? But I'll add a bit that I found. So I learned survival. I learned how to live in the woods with a knife and be able to take my family out into the woods with a knife and be good. That has provided me with a level of confidence to be able to think about scary thoughts, or like if the collapse happens, if there's excessive rule of law, if, you know, and in some ways it hits dopamine levels, and like there's a certain like satisfaction in thinking about these things, reading those you know, apocalyptic stories or whatever. I always told myself it's so that I can be more prepared. And it's like, yes, but at the same time, like, where's the positive vision that we want to live towards? Like, what would we like to see? Because if it's up to the government, we get a certain thing. If it's up to the system as it is, you know, and we just, you know, proxy our decision making or destiny to that, that's not satisfying. That's not fulfilling. So the next set of questions is more for fuck the noise, forget the excessive rule of law, without rule of law. What is the world that you would like to see happen? Okay, and we'll start, I think, Brian, we'll start with.
I don't think Josh gave us his list of skills.
He bounced. I think he's with his daughter. No, Paulson. Yeah, go ahead, Paulson. Oh, you want to say your skills that you think are important? Thank you, Verhej. Paulson, you available to tell us what skills you think are
He
important?
needs to unmute.
There we go. Sorry.
There you go. That's all right. Didn't mean to miss you there, bro.
So just to answer what brought me to Spearco is having discussions with my wife. We talked about how our grandparents always were able to care for their food needs. And when my wife's grandmother passed away, they threw away thousands of mason jars of food that she canned through the years.
Yeah.
We started having a discussion about not knowing how to do that, or even how we could feed ourselves. And then all of our grandparents were able to do that. And now that they've all passed, that knowledge is kind of gone. Yep. And neither of our parents cared to ever do any of that. We grew up on McDonald's and not something that I eat anymore. But, you know, I've always had a garden, but my garden's always been just tomatoes and peppers and
supplemental,
you know,
shit.
And weeds, tomatoes, peppers, and weeds. So I wanted to learn how to have the food forest to do the things like you see Curtis Stone doing, Jeff Lawton doing. And that took me to Spearco and Living Free in Tennessee. And, you know, as that came along, then the whole money issue. And once again, you get back into that, wow, it's been so easy all of my life up to this point to have money and to make money. The need to understand how it works has never been there. And now what's driving me is understanding how it works. And not only that, because I've always been self-employed, but never successful at being self-employed, you know, I've had to really change my views on money and what I do and don't need. And really what I do need is a shelter over my head, no debt. And that's where I'm at in my preps at this point, is no debt, paid off house. And now it's the water preps and the food preps and going into that more lifestyle where in a year, I know I'm okay. I don't really look at everything to fall apart, even though it is. I try not to live that way.
Yeah. No, same. We got to keep a positive attitude in it. So while you were speaking, Verhej put up some cans. I guess that you can that yourself. That's some really good skills there. And it made me think of something before we get to the next question, which was a lot of these skills and doing these things are actually fun. There's some pickles you got there. For those of you listening, Josh is holding up some pickles and carrots. It looks like pickled carrots and cool stuff. Probably grew them yourself. Is that right?
Yeah,
Nice.
I think the last few years we've grown all the cucumbers for the pickles. Those are hot peppers in there, though, so they're spicy.
Oh, yeah.
But my wife's canned like 36 different things.
Yeah, food preservation. I know Jack's done like series on biltong and how to preserve meats. So the thing about all of these skills, Nat and Kay, Christina, you know, you guys are new to this in a sense. You know that something's amiss, but these skills are actually like really fun. When I was on our farm up in North Carolina, we were pretty much off grid for the most part. We grew maybe about 70% of our food with wild foraging, chickens and eggs, and, you know, our gardens and stuff. And we did a lot of trading and whatever. But I mean, we still had to buy like things like pasta and whatever. Anyhow, the canning was some of the most fun. Food preservation, making pickles, and then also canning, right? So these are fun skills, and they taste amazing. They like better than anything you could buy in the store. And the feeling of creating these things, it's a great way to A, pass the time, involve your spirit, your life force. Talk about healing is like, to be able to do these things. It's like something that our grandparents and grandparents' parents, took for granted. And they're like, oh, we've got all of these things that we can go buy in the store now. But it's removed us from the natural process of life and that life force that flows through us. So, taking that, and we've got a question here real quick. I think we'll go to the crypto at the end, because I have a feeling that that'll take up a lot of time. So let's go with the question of, fuck all the noise. What is the world you want to see? And how does the agorist skills and these things that we just answered now, like these things that are good for a shit hits the fan situation, how are they good without that? If the shit doesn't hit the fan. So we'll start with Brian.
I think that one of the things that we need to do with those skills is learn to create value for other people, right? So if I'm good at raising rabbits, which I'm not, but it's a skill that's on my list to learn, right? And somebody else wants rabbit meat, like I can learn to trade for things that I don't necessarily want to do. So I think it's a reading of the market, a reading of what do people need. Yeah. And in certain cases, maybe you learn maybe it's not something that you already know how to do, but you can recognize, hey, this is a need that people have, and it's a need that I can learn that skill and then jump in and provide them, and then in exchange I can get what I need, because none of us is going to produce 100% of everything of what we need. We need our neighbors, we need our community. That's why we're building the community, right? We need to be able to exchange with our community to make the community better and stronger, and for all of us to survive, right?
Bang on. And rabbit meat sells for a lot of money, by the way. Just saying.
Right.
So, yeah. So thanks, Brian. Okay, so then we'll go to Christina. What is the world you want to see, and how does these kinds of skills help make that world happen?
I think having these skills would make us less dependent on big chain supermarkets like Walmart and
For sure.
Publix, and Publix.
Yeah.
It's local. So you're dependent, and we'll be using more of neighbors, fruit stands and vegetable stands, and trading. And I think everything will be healthier, because the politics of even selling the produce or selling the food items would be not so commercialist. Yeah, my husband's saying it's not going to be so commercialized. It's going to be better quality, I believe, because the quality is all about money. And I think it'll be deeper relationships with our community, with our neighbors, with the mom and pop shops. You can just come in and say, hey, what's good today?
It makes life more fulfilling, right?
Yeah, I think it'll more pure and less commercial way of life.
Agreed. Yeah, great points. How about let's say Natasha? And so these skills that would be helpful in a world, kind of collapse situation. What is the world you want to see, and how do these skills help to make that?
The kind of world I want to see is where we consider each other as what we are, which is humans, which is, we have a soul and we have feelings, and we need to consider that. That's my main passion. What I want to see is people be kind to one another. I mean, with that, if we become more human, we could we could balance out finally. I would love to see a world where we could have some real food, where we could eat and have the nutrition that we need.
Yep.
You know, that would be really great.
And knowing your local greens, you know, knowing how to produce your own food, preserve it, not be reliant on the system of supply chain.
I would love that. It feels to me like you were saying, like, you know, the connection, the spirit.
Yep.
It feels to me like it's just so fulfilling. Just what I want my life to look like.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. How about you, Mr. Paulson? And then we'll go back to Verhage. I like saying Verhage. So the world you want to see, Paulson, you're on mute now. Still mute. Still muted. There you go.
Okay, there I go. Sorry.
That's okay.
So the world I would like to see is, you know, growing up, I knew all of my neighbors, lived in the same house for 20 years, and just this last year have made an effort to know all my neighbors. That's kind of what I'm working towards, is to know the people that live close to me, not just the people that I choose to be around.
Yep.
Because they are the people that, you know, can offer help. But just because of circumstances and chances that I left out every day to work and take care of my kids, it didn't happen. So it's a personal effort with me to know the people that I'm around. And, you know, Nicole Sauce constantly discusses that, knowing your community.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that point that she constantly goes back to, about understanding the people that you choose to surround yourself with and the people that you are surrounded with because of circumstances.
Yep. I say this often, and the idea that familiarity breeds contempt. It's like we want connection, but at the same time, the more familiar we are with people, the more fucking problems we get with them, right? Like, it's almost like we have less problems when we don't interact with people, and so everybody's like, stay away from me because I don't want to get into problems. But I think, you know, something that like Natasha's doing, you know, is trauma healing and all this. Like, we're all fucking traumatized. We are so disconnected from the natural cycles of Earth that we're living in our own heads and our stories of what's going on out there. And we have our own insecurities, our own fears, our own, you know, bullshit, right? And a lot of it we don't want anybody to see, you know. And I think it's that willingness to be vulnerable and to not judge others, right? To just accept wherever the fuck they are in their journey, in their story, and recognize that it has nothing to do with me, right? And for each of us, right? And so it's like you stick two people in a room for long enough and they're going to fight. It's how do we, and the kids are having a hard time with this, they're being on the phone all the time. They don't know how to have a relationship and have ups and downs and be pissed off, but still be able to come back and be like, all right, fine, whatever, we got to work this out. You know, in the past, we had to survive. So we had to get over shit. Now we don't have that, that impetus to get over things. So it's like kind of pushing us all apart, right? But in these skills, especially like, you know, with John's Freedom Cells and with farmers markets, like you get to know people, and because we've been distant in so many different ways and we're learning to be with one another again, like I don't know any of y'all, right? But we're having a grown-up discussion about difficult topics, but in a way that feels like there's a good result, you know? And that goes back again to, I'm not trying to pick on you, Natasha, but there's like a purpose, you know, there's something that we work towards. If we're just trying to survive, that doesn't get us anywhere. You know, it provides a certain level of security and a certain level of reason to get over our shit. But if we're playing together, if we're building something creative together, if we've got a vision going forward, it's almost like that race car driver who, you know, would always avoid the accidents, and like miraculously. And he said to the reporters, he's like, I never looked at the accidents. I looked at where I was going. So that's why I asked this question. So thanks, Josh. How about you, Mr. Young? Did I already talk to you about this question? No, we're at Verhaeg.
Well, since I'm on my journey towards doing it, whether shit hits the fan or not, the homesteading, I took 4 winters and 2 months to build the house, and now we're spending most of the winter up here until I go back to work.
Yeah, congrats.
And you know, we know and hang out with the neighbors up here already more than, you know, anybody I've known on my block for the 12 years that I've lived there in the city. And it's just because of proximity. Like, you have to know these people. Some of the neighbors don't get along with some of the other neighbors, so it's not like we're in the middle of that, but we're trying to figure out, okay, why are you guys at odds? But my wife cans, she sells it in the city and out here at the farmers markets on the weekend. And just like you say, growing your own food tastes better for you. And I'm about halfway through the Ringing Cedars series.
Ooh,
I don't know
that's
if
a good one.
anybody's read those.
Yep.
These Anastasia books. So every time I read one of those, it just, compels me more and more to want to get out here. And what we're going to do is we're going to mulch about 20 feet out around the house on the south and west side with the wood chips that we cut off the small branches of the poplar trees. The large stuff's going to go in the wood boiler. The other stuff is going to go for like shredded mulch. I'll just walk out the back door barefoot, get grounded, do some gardening, and generally heal ourselves and try to make other people's lives better. And most importantly, just give my children, the ability to grow up out of town, out of a city at least, and, no school. So
they can learn everything online now, right? I mean,
my wife's a teacher, and our 3-year-old is at like the level of a 5 or a 6-year-old on half of the things. So I'm sure in 6 months we could probably start teaching her, adding and subtracting. I'd rather start with logic and some more natural type things.
Yep.
But I just want to give them, I grew up in a small town and I liked the freedom of it. We're blocks away from the edge of town, so we'd ride our bikes, and then you're in a hedgerow on the edge of town, and if you happen to have a lighter, maybe you shouldn't be starting a fire at 8 years old, but
right.
That's what we wanted to do, or just made a twig fort or a tree house, and did what we wanted. Moved to a small city, but it's grown and corporatized considerably since then. More stoplights, stop signs, and then the whole policy enforcement growth of the peace officer class, instead of being there to solve murders and stolen shit. And they don't want you, and they don't let you do anything for yourself in that regard, right? It's
so you're kind of like pushing yourself to the edge.
It's like something happens, you call us and let us deal with it, even if waiting for us is going to end up you're dead, right?
So you find yourself on the edges, right? Because you've got more freedom, more choices, and more, I would say, maybe less stress to conform, and more time and ability to actually connect and feel good, to actually not have to do something to feel good, but to just feel good because of the process that you're in. That's huge.
Well, there's a catch-22 on fitting in out of town, right? And that's where, small communities, ostracism comes in, where you need a little less coercion and all that kind of thing, because people are going to kind of self-police if they want to have any friends.
Right.
Whereas the city allows anonymity, right? And a whole bunch of weird, stupid shit. And then you anonymize that another level by digitizing everything. So, the things that people put up on Facebook or TikTok or any of these other platforms
becomes weirder and like more corrupt, right?
Yeah, it's like, do you even realize what you're doing or putting out there?
So that's it. So we want decency. We want a future that is balanced, healthy, where we can connect with people on an authentic level, but have our distance so we don't have to deal with them every day, and just do dope shit and feel connected with the universe through gardening, through, connecting with other life forms other than two-legged people who unga bunga all the time to each other. Listen to the birds, feel the trees and the movement of the air. So thanks, dude. All right.
Do something authentic.
Yeah, authentic. That's a good word for that. It's been really cool. Like, just, with Unloose the Goose, we have like topics, and we're like, how can we bring more value to the community and give them, more clues on how to get closer to that life, but to sit here and listen to all of y'all speak it's like each one of you already have components of that and are doing it to such a degree. And, you know, just being on the path is satisfying, no matter how far along, you know. It's like just by taking control of your own destiny in whatever way that you can, it provides a level of satisfaction and meaning that it's almost like all the darkness in the world couldn't even match that, you know. I know, like, when I die, I'll look back and be like, yo, I did what I came to do. Whether I succeeded or not doesn't matter. I did it, you know. So that just kudos to you all each for that. So y'all want to talk about some cryptocurrency? We have a question in the chat from, let's see who it was. Autofab Welding. All right, Autofab Welding asks, in a SHTF situation, what happens to crypto? Anybody here know enough about crypto they want to speak on it?
My personal thought is I stack silver. I dabble in coins, but I mean, you know, they seem power driven to me. I know people say you can have a paper wallet and then we could transact later. And some of the crypto geese guys are talking about decentralized internet hubs and solar powered satellites. I know you can send packets on ham radios. So theoretically there might be something you could do with it, but I'm holding some junk silver and, like, you know, copper 1 ounce rounds, nickel, brass, and some old currency. But I think, you know, trade my neighbor some pickles for some beef jerky.
Yeah, so if the grid goes down, if there's no electricity, right, or there's spotty electricity, the market cap, you know, we all use these terms for, like, financial markets, but the market cap of Bitcoin will go, right, because there's not enough people to actually satisfy it. And the people who are interested in it, they'll be more interested, like you said, on food, bullets, seeds, right? Real things that they can actually use. Gold, silver, those are actually really things that they can use. But in like and when I say shit hits the fan, I think of this movie Star Trek, where they go back in time to the first warp drive, to the guy who creates the first warp drive. And it's like everybody's living in these pockets. There's still nations, but they're more like factions, and there's still high technology, but it's very decentralized, and everybody's creating their own power in their own camps and whatever. You know, in a world like that, I could see a use for Bitcoin, but not anywhere near where it's at now. And real world shit is going to be more valuable. So to answer Autofab's question, I'll just take this one because I think I have the most crypto experience out of everybody here. But it'll be less in a shit hits the fan situation. It'll be less valuable. In an excessive rule of law situation, as Jack postulates, I think it'll be way more valuable, because you'll be wanting to hide. Like, let's say they've got this greater reset thing that's coming that you know, that John talks a lot about, Agenda 2030. So we've got this great reset coming, and the goal is the people who own everything want you to own nothing and let you know that you're going to be happy without those things. So in that world, your value in digital form, where the grid still exists, Starlink is happening, you know, there's a global, like, civilization going on, that shit's going to be super valuable, because you'll be able to transfer wealth that way, because there'll always be a black market. So, and I think that's where Jack and all the guys are coming from in that, and as well as Nicole. So that answers Mr. Autofab's question, I should hope.
Hey, Xavier.
Yo, bro.
I know Autofab personally. Your life will not change a bit, Autofab. Dude lives off the grid in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's already off the grid, and it's already,
I like him already,
for crypto for him. So
yeah, that's dope. That's awesome. Yeah, in fact, if I wasn't doing Firon, that's what the fuck I'd be doing. Pardon my language. I would be off the grid, like sweeping floors in a monastery and surfing and just collecting cryptocurrency. But I have this mission. I want to see a positive world, and I don't care how dark it is out there and how dangerous and how whatever it seems like it's going to be. I'm staying focused on my goal, because if I don't get it in this world, I'll get it in the next. And what I want is a world of sanity, what we've been talking about, where we can grow, feel close to the earth. We've got communities that we're a part of a greater, bigger community, but we have like our freedom cell, essentially, our community that we work with, that we've all got our skills, we're trades, and we're doing something together. You know, we feel a sense of belonging, a sense of contribution, of being seen, and that is, my house is cracking, Jesus. So that's what I want to see. And you know, all of these skills. So I'm preparing, you know, I'm preparing that things are going to get real bad, but I'm living as though it doesn't matter. Like, I'm standing before God and my creator and saying, this is the world that I want to see happen. And I'm living towards that, and nothing's going to deter me. With the hopes that, you know, maybe that's the case, maybe not, but at least I've declared to the universe that that's the case. And for me, that's the reason for agorism. I'm not going to try to hide out in the woods and be like, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that, Mr. Autofab. I told you I'd be doing the same thing, but I really want to see a better world for my kids. You know, somebody brought it up at the very beginning of this chat, like he might have bounced too, or was that you, V? Who was it that said that? They came in a little bit and then they bounced out, but they said, you know, once you have kids, things change, you know? So I want to I think that was, maybe it was Bryce. I don't know. Either way, do any of y'all have a question that you want to ask anybody here or me or anything like that? Because otherwise, I think we've had like pretty good discussion. We're going on an hour and a half now.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I am completely new to the world of Bitcoin and any kind of cryptocurrency. I have not spent any time actually researching it. Just to me right now, it's too complicated, I guess. And I also have a concern of I don't even know how to wrap my head around this. What if everything's wiped out, right? Like
solar flash or something, all the electricity stops.
Yeah, and then wouldn't it be
have
gone?
A lot more problems at that point. Yeah, you're gone. You'll be.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just like I've been just wondering, I guess, and I just haven't paid attention, perhaps because of that. I'm not sure.
No, it's a great question. Thanks, Natasha. So what we were saying is, like, if it's an excessive rule of law situation where things get more chaotic and more authoritarian, and you're trying to avoid the big city or whatever, or you're wanting to be able to operate in the big city, like, cryptocurrency is going to be very, very useful. In fact, the digital future is a digital currency that is blockchain based. So it behooves you to become as proficient with them as possible. Learn as much as you can. Read, watch videos, get a Coinbase wallet or one of the other, you know, more private wallets. But for somebody like you, like I suggest Coinbase. You can connect it straight to your bank account and start taking cryptocurrency as payment for your services, right? If you have clients and they're familiar with Bitcoin or any of the others, say like, I take Bitcoin, just, you know, start advertising your services accepting crypto. The thing that's been happening lately, and it's not always the case, but is that you'll get paid like $100 in Bitcoin, let's say, and then you forget about it. 2 weeks later, it's $160, you know? So it's like getting paid in stock certificates that go up and down, but they go up and down with more rapidity and with more velocity than regular stocks. Okay, because the market's not regulated. There's a lot of new money in it. Young folks, it's digital currency. It moves at the speed of life. It's like cash, but digital cash. So become as familiar as you can with it, because you want to be as versatile as possible if things get bad, or even if they don't, right? To quote Jack. So yeah,
I feel like it would stress me out, the whole being attached to a market thing. I feel like I'm not built for that or something.
Straight up. But you know, they have what are called stable priced coins. So you can, if you don't want the volatility, you can get paid in stable coins. The cool thing about all of these stable coins, USDC, USDT, the cool thing about them is that in a bank, they can go and take your money. They did that in Greece. They've done it in a number of different places. And then you try to go take your money out of the bank and they're putting a freeze on it, right? Because the banks don't have as much money as there is out there in the market. So they leverage themselves 10 times over, right? They'll keep $100 and then they'll loan out $10,000 or whatever the $1,000, right? They 10x their holdings because they figure, well, not everybody's going to ask for their shit back right at once. So we can give out $1,000. Meanwhile, we've only got $100 in here. But if everybody's like, I want my $100 back, they give, you know, 10 people $100. They don't have that money to give to them. So that's the dangerous game that the banks are playing. So when you're putting your money in banks, you're betting that your 9 other friends or 9 other contemporaries are not going to be asking for their money at the same time you are. But when they do, everybody's screwed, right? But with cryptocurrency, there was a dude, I just told this story on Baseline. There was a dude who went to prison for 2 years and they seized his Bitcoin wallet, but he didn't give him the password. He forgot it conveniently, burned on his boat, and they couldn't get into his wallet. So when he got out, and the crypto had gone up in so many times that he now has $60 million sitting in that wallet. So crypto prices are really just going up. They go up and down, and when they go down, they really go down, right? Scary sometimes. But you know, if you can set it aside or just do it on the short term, you know, you get paid $100 and then you take it right out, then you're not playing with the market. You're just getting paid, right? And if you need the fiat, if you can afford to keep it in, pay attention, learn how the market moves, and at least check on it, you know, once or twice a day. And if you're seeing it going down, you know, switch into a stable coin. Or if you don't want to play the markets, just switch it into a stable coin, keep it in your wallet. Does that make sense?
The last part, switch it to a stable coin. What does that mean?
So let's say you use Coinbase exclusively as a beginner. There's reasons not to. It's more expensive. You're going to end up paying taxes if it's kind of like a E-Trade or Robinhood type of app, but for crypto. So you get paid in Bitcoin for, you know, you're giving therapy for somebody, and you get paid $100 in crypto. You leave it in there for 2 days and it turns into $108 in crypto. And you're like, oh, that's dope. I'm going to put, you know, 100 of that into a stable coin. In the app, it gives you the options to trade in and out of the different coins, right? And so you can go into their USDC coin or USDT coin and just let it, and it'll stay stable. You don't have to worry about the market fluctuation. And then if you take it and get a separate wallet, you know, like Nexo or Exodus or some of the other really cool wallets that are out there, you can then take those coins, send them to yourself. It's like having multiple bank accounts with different apps. So you send it to one of your other apps and you just keep it there, right? And then if you go to prison or something, you know, horrible, let's say it doesn't happen, but you know, they come after your money. You still got that in there. Nobody can touch it but you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hey, Xavier.
Yo.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things, and you kind of hit on that. Is just like grab a hold of something, and it doesn't have to be Bitcoin. Right. It can be Litecoin, or it can even be Dogecoin, and learn how it works.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
I was reading an article where Mark Cuban bought his 11-year-old son some Dogecoin just so he could figure out how it works.
Yeah.
And so that 11-year-old kid is going to have
thousands of dollars.
Well, I'm not even talking about Dogecoin, but he's going to have so much of a leg up on knowing how that actually works.
Yeah.
That's going to be that's the first hurdle is the technical one of how it actually works. Yeah. The second thing is just something that just a tip, like the place I buy silver from. They have 3 prices. They have the wire transfer price, which is the cheapest. They have the crypto price, and they have the credit card price. So I don't really want to dig into sending a wire transfer for a few $100s, but I'm more than happy to send them USDC to not have to pay the credit card price to buy silver.
Dude, they accept USDC?
Yeah, they do.
No shit. Would you put that in the chat? That would be awesome. I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, it's I'm on a phone, but it's JM Bullion does it.
Oh, JM Bullion does it?
Yes.
So that's JM as in Mary, Bullion, BULLION. So Natasha, there's another answer for you, right? So silver, gold, these are good things too.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with something like that, but I don't know where to purchase such things.
So you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
Fucking every other fucking corner.
Really?
Yeah, there's gold buyers and they've got
no
coins.
idea.
47th
I'm just
Street.
Completely lost, and I'm just like I'm ignoring that in particular.
So it's the same with like canning and all these other skills. Like you want to be more secure in your finances. You want to be more secure in like being able to control your own wealth. So learn where the gold buyers are and go buy some coins, hold on to them. I remember when I had a lot that before it fell, in a boat fire, that I would pile it on my table and like count on it and like be like Mr. Scrooge and just be like happy about the fact that I have this shit. That was before my hard times, right? And it feels good. It feels good to hold something that, it's like, even if things get really bad, somebody's going to want this. So I have a greater chance of survival just because of that, right? And that little bit of confidence helps you spur you on to other levels, right? Where you
Yes.
that to growing food. It's like when you start feeling good, you don't want to feel bad again, so the minute you start building these skills and moving in that direction, it just feels so damn good that you just don't want to turn around. And then you learn new skills every day, every year. You become better than you were before, and that's the fucking whole point of agorism.
I want to add a couple things on the crypto and ask you a question, Xavier, about it.
Let's do it.
But Natasha, just think about the tax implications if you were to say get $100 in Bitcoin and then the next day it's $200 worth. I know Xavier says it's an unregulated market, but they're starting to regulate that kind of stuff.
Yep, good point.
Which leads me to my question for Xavier. Since I'm a conspiracy-minded type of person, and they want to do central bank digital currencies, and we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, do you think?
I mean, it's me,
that
obviously. No, I'm just kidding.
The same thing comes to my mind with the QAnon deal, is that with QAnon and with Trump, is that I saw a lot of libertarians and people who'd sworn off, being mixed up with politics ever again, jump on the Trump bandwagon and then jump on this Q stuff. Psyops on top of psyops. Is there a chance that the whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency thing rolling out, a decade previous to now was a way to catch all the people who were into freedom and hiding their finances and this and that, to be
Good
the
point.
people who are like, yeah, okay, I'll get in on this crypto digital currency stuff?
Yeah, no, I get where you're going, and I'm gonna flat out say no. The level of
Tesla, Mass Mutual, MicroStrategy.
The level of our civilization is such that we've become a global civilization, and we need a transactional instrument that moves faster than the fucking wheel, right? We need or a boat. We need a transactional instrument that is secured digitally so that we can move as a civilization, a global civilization. And that's why it was created, because the people who understand life at those levels needed that, because it was time for us.
But isn't Bitcoin really slow, and aren't we throwing a whole bunch of money towards fees?
Oh yeah, but it was not the model. Cars were needed because people needed to start communicating and traveling further distances. But the first car was fucking slow as fuck, right? Okay. So it's really just that. Now, are there some cryptocurrencies out there that are used for duplicitous and dark ends, and they were created to do that? Yeah, you're damn right. There are some coins that were created specifically for black ops, for untraceable money, all of that shit. So, just be careful when you're out there. I'm not saying all of them, I'm not, but a lot of them are just people like, oh, I'm going to get rich by making a coin and making it, I know some code, blah, blah, blah. And so there's all kinds of shit on the market. But is it some grand conspiracy? No more than the grand conspiracy of helping civilization continue. That which is needed comes next, and it's sort of like somebody was going to build something like it because that's what was needed at our level of civilization. Now VPNs on another story, those were created to find out who would want to hide, right? Because they specifically are there to hide you. Cryptocurrency wasn't there to hide you. It was pseudonymous. It wasn't meant to be anonymous. Some people have taken it further and done anonymous coins, and I'm a fan of them. It'd be good to travel with, right? Or and things like that. So yeah, that's my thought on that. Did that answer your question, V?
I just think that it opened people's minds to the digital currency type of thing that we're going to. And like you say, it was inevitable. We were already running plastic all the time, and PayPal and things like that.
It's expensive.
I was just, yeah.
Yeah, and will it be turned into a panopticon of global control where everybody's tracked and traced? Yeah, pretty much, unless we do something about it that's better. you know, and that's why I built Firon, and that's why we're doing Firon. So any other
one of the things to keep in mind is that, yeah, it takes 10, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, to confirm a transaction in Bitcoin. Yeah, you're not buying a latte with it. It takes days to actually
sometimes
confirm a transaction with your bank. It may show up immediately, but it's not necessarily available. If you do a stock trade, it takes 2 days for that to be settled, which to me just blows my mind in the world that we're living in. And being an engineer and a technologist, it's really strange.
Yep. Now they're confirming like Ripple. I know y'all may not like them, but I know they're and Jack hates them, but they're confirming transactions in 10 seconds, you know, for billions of dollars, you know, and like there's very few open sourced versions of that on the market, and that there's a real need at the big high levels with, you know, bank clearing at the end of the night and shit. So there's purposes and builds for all of them, just like there's many types of cars. You've got trucks, which are good for hauling shit. You got race cars, which are good for entertainment. You've got, you know, so it's the same with cryptocurrencies. Everyone is built differently for a different purpose. There are some that are built just to store data, medical data, video data, like Odyssey and Library. So, you know, they're all built with different parameters, with different code for different purposes. And just like the stock market, it's all about market sentiment, and what everybody's feeling at the moment is how valuable they are, right? So there you go with that. Any other questions?
Yes, one more.
Yes, please.
What would you say is the best energy behind? I mean, which coin would have the best energy? Would you assume?
Like metaphysical
what's your
energy?
opinion? Yeah, like what's the lightest, like the least dark one?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question, Natasha. Well, this is going to sound weird, especially to some of the old schoolers, but I would say Litecoin. Okay, and that's a weird one. But I know Charlie personally, Charlie Lee, who invented it. And what he did is he just took Bitcoin and made it better, faster, stronger. And now they're using the Lightning Network, and it's actually a quick coin. And it's because all of the attention's on Bitcoin, you know, some of the cleanest sales purposes reasoning used for it is Litecoin. It's so underrated that it's like the underdog, that usually underdogs are good, clean energy from that psychic metaphysical level, right? Another one, Bitcoin, you know, that's like the gold of cryptocurrency, but as Mr. Young said, it's like very slow and it takes a long time to clear. And then if you've got like USDC and USDT, I wouldn't do those in terms of like that energy clearness, but they're backed ostensibly by the US dollar. So, you know, that's not energetically clear. So I go with Litecoin in that regard. There are some newer coins, EOS, FIO. I know the people behind FIO protocol, and they're really dope. They're going to be here at the launch party. Earth credits, when it happens, Earth credits will be like the cleanest. So little self promotion there.
But okay, so that hasn't come out yet.
Nope.
Oh, nice.
So, oh yeah, and EOS, I'm good friends with Brock, and he is one of the progenitors of the EOS protocol. Although I have some things about that. They're doing some cool things with governance, and they're doing some really cool things with speed of transaction and everything. And I really dig Brock as an individual and as a friend. So there's that as well. Cool.
Cool.
Well, dude, I actually think this has been a pretty dope Unloose the Goose. You know, it's like the content, you know, it's there. It's really cool to actually be able to interact with the community beyond the Telegram chat and do something. We've been doing stuff like this every Monday with Firon Telegram for like updates on what's happening with Firon, and then we do a meditation and stuff. But to have you guys interact, and with such varied backgrounds, you know, it really has mixed it up a whole lot. And I'm hoping that the community finds this to be valuable, and that maybe we do this more often, right? Because it would be cool to meet, you know, the whole community. It's good to have that depth. We want to have deeper relationships, so let's fucking do that, you know?
Let's fucking do it.
Hell yeah, let's do dope shit.
Xavier.
Well, thank you guys and gals. I really appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And
thank you for having us.
Thanks for spending
Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, this has been a special edition of Unloose the Goose with your host, Xavier Hawk.
Make it a great day.
Make it a great day. All right. Peace out.